A race possessed inhabited those parts, a force demoniac lurking in man's depths, that heaps, suppressed by the heart's human law, awed by the calm and sovereign eyes of thought, can in a fire, an earthquake of the soul, arise, and calling to its native night, overthrow the reason, occupy the life, and stamp its hoof on nature's shaking ground. This was for them their being's flaming core, a mighty energy, a monster god, hard to the strong, implacable to the weak. It stared at the harsh, unpitying world it made with the stony eyelids of its fixed idea. Its heart was drunk with a dire hunger's wine. In others' suffering felt a thrilled delight, and of death and ruin the grandiose music heard. To have power, to be master, was sole virtue and good. It claimed the whole world for evil's living room. Its party's grim totalitarian reign, the cruel destiny of breathing things. All on one plan was shaped and standardized under a dark dictatorship's breathless weight. In street and house, in councils and its courts, beings he met who looked like living men and climbed in speech upon high wings of thought, but hovered all that is subhuman, vile, and lower than the lowest reptile's crawl. The reason meant for nearness to the gods, and uplift to heavenly scale by the touch of mind, wholly enhanced by its enlightening ray, their inborn nature's wry monstrosity. Often a familiar visage studying, joyfully encountered at some dangerous turn, hoping to recognize a look of light. His vision, warned by the spirit's inward eye, discovered suddenly hell's trademark there, or saw with the inner sense that cannot err, in the semblance of a fair or virile form, the demon and the goblin and the ghoul. An insolence reigned of cold, stone-hearted strength, mighty, obeyed, approved by the Titan's law, the huge laughter of a giant cruelty, and fierce glad deeds of ogre violence. In that wide cynic den of thinking beasts, one looked in vain for a trace of pity and love. There was no touch of sweetness anywhere, but only force and its acolytes, greed and hate. There was no help for suffering, none to save, none dared resist or speak a noble word. Armed with the aegis of tyrannic power, signing the edicts of a dreadful rule, and using blood and torture as a seal, darkness proclaimed her slogans to the world. A servile, blinkered silence hushed the mind, or only repeated lessons taught, while Mitre, holding the Good Shepherd's staff, falsehood enthroned on awed and prostrate hearts, the cults and creeds that organize living death and slay the soul on the altar of a lie. All were deceived, or served their own deceit. Truth in that stifling atmosphere could not live. Their wretchedness believed in its own joy, and fear and weakness hugged their abject depths. All that is low and sordid-thoughted, base, all that is drab and poor and miserable, breathed in a laxed content its natural air, and felt no yearning of divine release. Arrogant, jibing at more luminous states, the people of the Gulfs despised the sun. A barriered autarky excluded light. Fixed in its will to be its own grey self, it wanted its norm unique and splendid time. It soothed its hunger with a plunderous dream, flaunting its cross of servitude like a crown. It clung to its dismal, harsh autonomy. A bull-throat bellowed with its brazen tongue, its hard and shameless clamor filling space and threatening all who dared to listen to truth, claimed the monopoly of the battered ear. A deafened acquiescence gave its vote, and braggart dogmas shouted in the night, kept for the fallen soul, once deemed a god, the pride of its abysmal absolute. A lone discoverer in these menacing realms, guarded like termite cities from the sun, oppressed mid crowd and tramp and noise and flare, passing from dusk to deeper dangerous dusk, he wrestled with powers that snatched from mind its life, and smote from him their clinging influences. Soon he emerged in a dim, wall-less space. For now the peopled tracks were left behind. He walked between wide banks of failing eve. Around him grew a gaunt spiritual blank, a threatening waste, a sinister loneliness that left mind bare to an unseen assault, an empty page on which all that willed could write stark, monstrous messages without control. A travelling dot on downward roads of dusk, mid barren fields and barns and straggling huts, and a few crooked and phantasmal trees, he faced a sense of death and conscious void. But still a hostile life, unseen, was there, whose death-like poise, resisting light and truth, made living a bleak gap in nullity. He heard the grisling voices that deny, assailed by thoughts that swarm like spectral hordes, a prey to the staring phantoms of the gloom, and terror approaching with its lethal mouth, driven by a strange will, down, ever down, the sky above, a communique of doom. He strove to shield his spirit from despair, but felt the horror of the growing night, and the abyss rising to claim his soul. Then ceased the abodes of creatures and their forms, and solitude wrapped him in its voiceless folds. All vanished suddenly, like a thought expunged. His spirit became an empty listening gulf, void of the dead illusion of a world. Nothing was left, not even an evil face. He was alone with the grey python night. A dense and nameless nothing, conscious, mute, which seemed alive, but without body or mind, lusted all being to annihilate, that it might be forever nude and sole. As in a shapeless beast's intangible jaws, gripped, strangled by that lusting viscous blood, attracted to some black and giant mouth and swallowing throat and a huge belly of doom, his being from its own vision disappeared, drawn towards depths that hungered for its fall. A formless void suppressed his struggling brain, a darkness grim and cold oppressed his flesh, a whispered grey suggestion chilled his heart. Hailed by a serpent force from its warm home and dragged to extinction in blank vacancy, life clung to its seed with cords of gasping breath. Lapped was his body by a tenebrous tongue. Existence mothered, travailed to survive. Hope strangled, perished in his empty soul. Belief and memory, abolished, died. And all that helps the spirit in its course. There crawled through every tense and aching nerve, leaving behind its poignant quaking trail a nameless and unutterable fear. As a sea nears a victim, bound and still, the approach alarmed his mind forever dumb of an implacable eternity of pain, inhuman and intolerable. This he must bear, his hope of heaven estranged. He must ever exist without extinction's peace, in a slow suffering time and tortured space, an anguished nothingness, his endless state. A lifeless vacancy was now his breast, and in the place where once was luminous thought, only remained, like a pale, motionless ghost, an incapacity for faith and hope and the dread conviction of a vanquished soul, immortal still, but with its Godhead lost, self lost, and God, and touch of happier worlds. But he endured, stilled the vain terror, bore the smothering coils of agony and affright. Then peace returned, and the soul's sovereign gaze. To the blank horror a calm light replied, immutable, undying, and unborn, mighty and mute, the Godhead in him awoke, and faced the pain and danger of the world. He mastered the tides of nature with a look. He met with his bare spirit, naked hell.